Hello, everyone, and today we're going to talk about the Roman Empire, one of the most significant empires in ancient world history and world history as well. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, in our last class, we talked about Alexander the Great, who was born in the 4th century BCE. He was tutored by Aristotle, who is one of the greatest philosophers in Western culture, along with Plato and Socrates. Alexander the Great, he was a great military strategist and general, and actually rose up to be one of the greatest generals in Macedonia, which is the country he was born in. And the significant thing about Alexander is that he was the first one within that area to really unite all different Greek city-states, like Athens, Sparta. He conquered all of them and united them into one great Greek empire, and then used that force to fight against another great, Darius the Great of Persia. He also significantly used the phalanx to his advantage. It's kind of, as we talked about, it's kind of like a box formation, almost like a turtle, of all the different soldiers and spearmen, which were tightly packed together to make just a big, significant military force that many people didn't know how to break the formation. Of course, he didn't invent the phalanx, but he used it to his advantage in order to conquer the then known world. Unfortunately, of course, as you know, he didn't really get to live to see his legacy because he died shortly after conquering the known world. But upon his death, his empire was divided between his generals, who then spread Greek culture and philosophy throughout their individual provinces. So this is a map of what we refer to as the Hellenistic world, basically the world of Alexander the Great and his successors. As you see, some of the parts of the Hellenistic world is that it really led to an environment with Greek language, culture that all just, flourished basically. So Alexandria, you see, of course, named after Alexander the Great, and also Greek religions, but all from this area as well too. So a lot of Egyptians from Mesopotamia, people even all the way over in the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, for example, they worshipped Greek gods, and then many people around the Mediterranean began speaking the Greek language. It became the new lingua franca of the area, basically. And even significantly, even the Jews, for example, living in the Ptolemy territory, they actually also themselves began speaking Greek, and they actually translated the whole Old Testament into Greek, which of course we know is called the Septuagint, which is actually the version of the Old Testament that the disciples and people in the Testament would have been familiar with. So now that we've done a little overview of the Hellenistic world and Alexander the Great, we'll actually talk about the lesson today, which is the Roman Empire. And so the aim of this class will be to kind of become familiar with the cultural and the political contributions of the Roman Empire to our modern Western culture. We'll learn about some of the great leaders and what they did, why they're significant. But most of all, the main lesson is you'll learn how to construct a map showcasing the major political and historical events within the Roman Empire. So this is an overview by Khan Academy. It goes over basically the basic timeline of the Roman Empire from the Old Kingdom to the days of the Republic, the Empire, the division, it eventually decline and fall actually in the 5th century, all of that. So this will basically be a little intro, and then after this I'll go into the maps with the students. So the first map right here is of the Punic Wars. And the Punic Wars, basically the Republic of Rome fought against Carthage in a series of violent battles and conflicts. And so basically, Rome, of course, they fought against the Greeks, they fought against the Etruscans within their own peninsula. But it was the first major war that Greeks actually fought with a completely different people that wasn't on the Italian peninsula. And right, you can see right here on this line, this traces Hannibal's great march all over the Alps and down to Italy. Very famous military campaign. He actually managed to get elephants all the way over the Alps, which I don't even know how he did, but somehow he managed to do it. Unfortunately, though, he was eventually conquered and killed in the last battle called Zama. And that was basically the end of the Carthaginian Empire. After that, of course, we had Caesar's Civil War, which Ken also talked about in this video. And so basically, after Julius Caesar campaigned to conquer Gaul, basically, with the Celts living at the time, he returned to he was going to return back to Rome, but on his return home, his rival, General Pompey, he basically wanted to have him removed from office and for him to be stripped of all of his provinces. Of course, they had beef a long time before that, but after he conquered Gaul, it really escalated. Significantly, of course, Julius Caesar, he won, defeated Pompey, destroyed his rivals, and in the aftermath declared himself dictator of Rome. His grandson, well, adopted grandson really, Augustus Caesar, would eventually go on to become the first emperor of Rome, which this next map shows. So right here, this next map, this shows all the territory that Augustus Caesar, um, Julius Caesar's adopted son, basically controlled. And this is a very detailed map that you can see. Right here is what you call the legend. The legend basically shows you what all the colors and different symbols means. So basically, see the Roman Republic. This is how much territory they controlled in 63 BCE, and then this is how much it expanded at the time of the assassination of Caesar. So basically, went from everything you see right here, kind of lighter colors, into all of this darker colors right here. These darker colors. We took Gaul, more of Carthage, some of this, expanded Syria, all that territory. The Augustus conquered everything right here in magenta. Of course, so far I've only talked about the military heritage of the Roman Empire, but they also had a lot of architectural and cultural feats as well. Right now, all these letters you see right here, it's called what you call Latin script, which again dates to the days of the Roman Empire. Latin script was invented by the Romans. The Romans also spoke Latin, and that language is still in our vocabulary today. A lot of our words in English language, for example, they have their roots either in Greek or in Latin. And entire languages such as Spanish, called the Romance languages, such as Spanish, Romanian, French, and Portuguese, are direct descendants of Latin, which of course the Romans spoke. Romans also built a lot of beautiful cultural buildings, such as architectural feats, such as the aqueduct, the Colosseum, and most famously also Hadrian's Wall, which is basically, you could say, their version of the Great Wall of China. It was a big Great Wall they built in England to defend against the barbarians coming from the north. This shows basically the spread of Christianity in the Roman Empire. It started in the dark spots right here, and then by 300 to 600 AD, it spread to everything in Sion. And then these are basically the last places to be Christianized right here on the frontier. And this shows the decline of the Roman Empire during the third century, a period known as the crisis of the third century, where a lot of major generals were fighting against each other. There wasn't really a stable ruler. There was battles, plague, intrigue. The barbarians are coming in and giving them trouble. It was a very dark and dubious time. And of course, all these are Google sites, so if you want to research more about these certain events or probably add them to your map, you are free to do so. So right here is basically the time for you to take class notes. Write about what significant events you found significant, why you found significant. You can talk about certain battles, certain buildings, where they were built. You can probably even do some research of your own and discover some own interesting historical events or battles that you think should also be on this list or in my presentation. And then after, of course, the students do that section to write the notes, they then will use that information for scribble maps to make their own map, just like the one that's showcased, showing certain historical or political events that happened around the time of the Roman Empire. So I'll get outside of this for now, and then I'll go to scribble maps. So you go to this website, and you're going to do create your map now. And here are all the different options. I don't think I will restrict the students so much until when they choose, but I will strongly suggest they choose probably something like this one, that one, or probably satellite. Maybe not hybrid because it has a lot of different labels and signs and symbols, which is a bit messy. It makes it harder to read. So, but satellite, I'd say, it's a pretty good one too because it allows you to see all the geographical figures, which do play into some of these, you know, interesting political and cultural and military events. So I'll just choose this one. You choose basically a template. And right now, these are basically all the tools I can use at my disposal. So right now I have the hand. I click on the screen and I drag it. I use a scroll button to zoom out. Of course, we're not doing with this part of the world yet. Right now, we're looking at this part of the world. So right now, we're gonna make a little event basically. We're gonna put Hadrian's Wall and the time it was completed. So right here, this is an image of Hadrian's Wall. It was begun in 122. Okay. And as you see, it basically aligns with Brenta Green all the way to Newcastle upon Tyne. So we're actually gonna draw basically a little symbol to represent that and then make a label. So you can either do a circle or a polygon. I'm gonna do a polygon, the different tools you have. You click once, drag it, click again, and you can just basically click as many times as you want to make different angles. The main thing you have to know is that once you're done, you double click. There you go, to end it. And now if you want to name it, you go to the label tool. You don't want to use the raw text, is that you can't really see it that well, so either use the block or the bubble. I'm gonna go with the bubble. You click somewhere there, you can move to just the bubble, and then click again to place it. So right now we're gonna do, so you're gonna type the event, the building, whatever happened. You're gonna say Hadrian's Wall constructed in, let me see, 122 AD. And you're gonna say something like this fortification was built to protect against the barbarians. Awesome. Now the most significant, no, another important thing to note too, that after you do the title and description, we'll change the color here. You want to take off shrink on zoom, otherwise it'll just be small and you'll only be able to see the words when you zoom in. But we want to see everything from whatever perspective we're at in the map, so just take that off and then save. And then boom, there it is. And we have a map of the wall that was right there. Pretty cool, right? And if you want to erase it or get rid of it, you can just use the erasing tool right here. And you can also use this paint tool to change the color, right? So this right here changes the color of what's on the inside. Right? Oh, I'm changing the bubble. It's cool as well too. And then right here changes what's on the outside. See? Changes the outside line. Here we go. So you can change both the bubble and you can also change that little symbol there too. So we're going to just do one more landmark. Let's say we want to do the Battle of Zama, right? The Battle of Zama. Instead of doing all of these different tools, you can just use the marker tool. And let me see, since there's a battle, let's do something that has to do with danger or death. So we'll put this, probably the approximate location of Zama. See the Battle of Zama, 202 AD, BC, sorry, not AD. And you're going to say Hannibal is defeated by the Roman forces and dies. Again, make sure this is unchecked, and then you'll save it. Zoom out. And it won't appear at first, but if you click on it, it'll show you what happens. So yeah, that's basically our little tutorial today. Can't see what kind of maps you guys come up with. And just please, if you have any questions, comments, you're having trouble navigating this whole interface, just let me know. Thank you so much.